What up, Facebook? It is your boys from Elevating Men back in the building for another Monday session with Elevating Men. We thank you for tuning in. Uh, it's just the three amigos here tonight. You got myself to my right, my left, something like that. We got my man AB Dinner and Dialogue, aka resting2050.org. What's happening, Captain?
Hey, it's all good, man.
It's
It's
all
all
good.
good.
And then right below me, below both of us, we have the fit pastor in the building tonight, Mr. Mike Patton. What's going on, Captain?
What's up? What's up? What's up? God is good, man. I'm here, ready to go.
Let's get it. Let's get it. So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, go to our YouTube page, Elevating Men on YouTube. Uh, hit that subscribe button. You can catch all of the archive footage. And if you subscribe, you'll get a notification every time we post something. Join our Facebook page. We don't ever really talk about our Facebook page, but Elevating Men has a Facebook page. Go there. You'll see other content that we throw in there amongst our weekly show. Second Saturday of every month is our monthly men's prayer breakfast. Last month we had a powerful session. I guess that was last week too. We had a powerful session, and so definitely looking forward to next month. I guess that would be December. I don't know. This year going by too fast. It'd be December 14th. So mark that on your calendars.
Yes.
December 14th. We will have our monthly men's prayer breakfast, inviting you out. And while you come out, bring a friend alongside with you. Please, please, please do that. So, fellas, man, let's get to it. Last week, man, we had some spicy dialogue. I think everybody had a lot of commentary when we talked about started our focus on the misconceptions about male and female emotions. I think we talked a lot about who's more emotional. I think that was a big hot topic for sure. Are men or women more emotional? I think we were able to really kind of dive into a few topics. So we're going to continue that discussion. I know I was in the audience for the most part last week. I think Mike P had a segment, and I know y'all all know about AB shots fired. He fired some shots last week. Don't cover your face now. Stand on it, baby. Stand on it.
Yeah.
So fellas, let's get to it. So this is part 2 of the common misconceptions about male and female emotions. So we're going to start off this conversation with an interesting question: is who tends to handle or manage their emotions in a healthier way? Mike Patton, I'll start with you.
Well, I think, when we look at healthy, we have to come from a healthy condition to be able to understand what healthy is. And if I come from an unhealthy environment, I tend to perpetuate and emulate the environment that I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And so it carries over and it flows. It's very fluid because now I have a lack of discipline. I have a lack of understanding as to how to control and to get to the narrative of the problem. And oftentimes we don't want the narrative to be us. We put the blame game on someone else. And so then there's a fire and there's nothing to extinguish the fire that has now blossomed and now is tearing down a whole forest of what could have been potentially a good forest. Now that it's turned into rubbish and a bushel of things that have been swept up under the rug. We don't deal with it. We set it to the side because emotionally it's hard for us to deal with something too long. And so emotionally, we don't want to be caught in this situation. I said it is done. That's it. But if something even sparks that fire later on, we'll bring back up old stuff. You see what I mean? That's why you did this. That's why I did this. This is why I reacted. And so we go through an emotional roller coaster, but still that fire never gets put out because we don't deal with the issue until the issue is resolved because we don't come from that type of environment. oftentimes. And so, we just take the hood road, hey man, we use the different words we call the ladies, and all the expletives then come out, and then there's a whole bunch of bushel fires that we see. And so now we need someone with a hose to put it out, but we have nobody to talk to, because there are people around us that we migrate around that feel the same that we do. So what we do is we talk to other people for affirmation.
Okay. Do you think that we speak to people for affirmation that our behaviors are correct in the way we dealt with them, or just in general?
I know I did. Hated when somebody told me I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're tapping into a situation where I'm incompetent or I'm stupid. And then when somebody does, like, say, Andrew, I went through some situations that he was a great mentor to me, because he told me one thing I will never forget. Mike, when you're in certain situations, take your hand off the wheel. Because if you go in the wrong direction, evidently your hand is going the wrong direction. So the God you serve, he said that to me, let him take the wheel. Because the way and direction that you're going, you're not going in the right way. So somebody needs to drive this wheel other than you. And so I did that, and it helped me get through some things that was very turbulent in my mind, because, she doesn't feel that way. And why did I do this? And why did I do that? Well, Mike, take your hand off the wheel and just let things happen. And quit trying to drive everything, and let things just happen as a happenstance. And so that meant a lot to me.
Fair enough. AB, same question, sir. Between men and women, who tends to handle their emotions in a healthier way?
Oh, men, of course not.
Why do you say so?
So I'm looking up the root word, what I consider the root word of emotions, which is emote.
Yes.
The definition says to emote, to give expression to emotion, especially in acting. Who acts better when they feel or wants the world to think that everything's all good? Men.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah,
Who expresses their emotions better than anybody in the world when they are emotional? Men. And when I say that, a lot of men don't believe that this right here is an emotion. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. They don't believe that silence, frowning, distance, redirection, avoidance, denial, running, and all those other things, they don't believe that those are acts of emotion, acting as if I am not emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they are the worst offenders of emotions. Men are. Women handle their emotions much better because they get them out, they deal with them, they face their emotions, they feel their emotions, they express their emotions.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'm not gonna disagree. Give me a second, and then yes, I will let you come right back in and drop a comment there. So we talked a lot last week about social acceptance, right? What is socially acceptable to the outside world, and I think that's where we got to that place where we talked about men not being able to emote, right? Because it's not socially acceptable. And so I think that uh, that's the what I would consider to be the initial breakdown, right? I think that would be the initial breakdown, is that we're so ingrained to focus on what society says, what society creates as that norm, that's what we live by. Now I've seen some explosive emotions from females that probably aren't healthy, I think. But I think what you're referring to is the nonverbal emotions that we put out there that show that we are truly in pain, that show that there is something going on that we don't articulate outwardly. Is that a fair thing to say?
That's a very fair thing to say. We think that nonverbal communication is not communication.
Mm-hmm.
Nonverbal communication is
Mm-hmm.
very loud communication.
Yes, it is. It is. And I'll tell you one thing that's interesting is I would say that I've dealt with this a little bit on a personal level is when we do uh when we do start to express ourselves, right? Then it's, man, are you okay? Like, what's wrong with you? You sound soft. And it's like, this is why I didn't communicate in the first place, because you are now saying that my emotion is making me appear to be weak. And as a man, I don't want to appear to be weak. I always, again, society has told me that I need to be strong. So the minute somebody tells me that I'm being soft, I look at softness as a weakness, and then I just shut right back down. And so that's not. I agree though that women are express themselves in a healthier way emotionally. Mike, go ahead. I know you wanted to comment on something AB said earlier.
I have a question to AB and to both of you, the audience. How do you deal with a woman that's hormonal during her menstrual period? You know that changes, and then she's going through menopause.
Can you say that again?
I'm I,
I couldn't hear you clearly.
no, what he said. I'll he said, how do you deal with the women, or how do you deal with a woman when she is uh going through her time of the month, or maybe an older woman that's going through menopause? Like, how do you deal with those emotions that can be explosive?
By not putting a match to them.
Matching, you mean matching the energy, or
No,
match in a symbolic sense?
by match to a that strikes a flame.
Okay.
So why would I want to see her explode? I mean, if she's just doing this, I'm not going to put a match to it. You know, if she's doing this, I'm not going to push the
But
button that says boom. If she's going through whatever she's going through, I don't have to inflame her any more than what she's going through.
Mm,
I don't have to push her button. However, I choose because I don't understand. I choose to ask her, you know, what's wrong? What can I do to fix this? That right there already pisses her off because she says, okay, you want to actually fix my period. You want to actually fix my period. And then she sits back and says, tell me exactly what you're going to do. No. Please tell me exactly what you're going to do.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Uh, I'm not old enough. Well, I'm not gonna say I'm not old enough. I don't have any experience with a woman going through menopause. If my mom was when I was a kid, I missed the whole boat. Uh, but so I don't have that experience. But I do agree with you that I am not gonna add fuel to the fire for sure. Uh, and I would say that listen without a response would probably be some of the best ways to handle that. Uh, I see we got some comments from the ladies. Miss Maylene, thank you for tuning in. She said, really, women don't understand the roller coaster of emotions that we experience. Just being there is more than enough. You don't have to fix anything. That kind of what I
Exactly.
just said. Thank you for the feedback.
Exactly.
Miss
And
Nisi. Okay, Miss Nisi, I got you.
yeah.
It's not
So Miss
unusual for a
Stacey,
woman to start menopause in her early 30s. So I guess what she's saying is you are old enough to experience this. AB, that's a mean ass woman.
so let me clarify because what I was trying to convey, Nisi, was that when men are asked a dumb ass question, we actually say, all right, okay, the sarcasm just comes out. The sarcasm. So really tell me, what is it you think you can do about the remote not working? And all she's saying is get up and go use your finger and turn the TV the old fashioned way. But I'm just pissed off because she actually came in the middle of my war. So I was not saying that this woman was mean. I was saying that this dude asked a stupid question. It's like, hey, how can I fix your menopause? And she already knows that he can't fix it. He's the one that doesn't know. And he's really serious about, hey, tell me what I can do, because I'm getting frustrated at your behavior that I don't like, that you won't tell me how to fix. And she's just like, okay, fix it. Well, tell me what's wrong. I'm menopausing.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Tammy. Hey, Tammy. She said there's a lot of info out there to learn about all of the changes and hormonal wars going on in our bodies. Just educate yourself and support her. Great to know. Some of us understand that sometimes men ask weird questions. And as you know, no, that's great. That's great. That's great. Okay, Janisha
Can I
said,
say
get
something to that?
Miss Round said, get our ass off here, get our asses off here talking about these topics without anybody on the panel. We just speaking from a male perspective. We don't mean no harm, Miss Rounds. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
You see, there's a difference between having a fling with a woman and having a relationship.
Okay.
And so with a fling, my mind is different because I want things quick, fast, in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
In a relationship, I get a chance to know her. And so now, the communication, the talking piece, spending time. Now, if I'm married to one, there's a difference because basically I'm not stuck. I'm with her on a daily basis. Okay. When I have a fling with a person, I see a person every now and then. So I really don't care about that change in life when she gets between the age of, say, 35 and maybe 55, and you see that change of life happens because I don't see the pattern because I'm not around her every day. So those patterns happen. And so there also is a thing called male menopause. So there's a lot of things that can ignite this fire. And usually the woman would take like Midol or some type of medication to calm and smooth the hormonal pieces down. But again, how much do I want to now be a part of the communication for the relationship to grow? And so now there's a point of spending time. Now, there is no perfect way to deal with a woman when she's going through those changes because those changes change. I wish you guys could have seen All in the Family. You was old enough to see All of the Family when Eve was going through the change. One moment she came in one way, another moment she came in totally something, a different type of mindset, a different type of mentality, and everybody was wondering what was wrong. She was going through the change, and those things happen. Now, if I love you and I want to stay with my relationship with you, I would now study the patterns and then ask questions, and then now maybe go to the doctor, seek help to now help me through this. But besides all that, the points of emotion, I believe, and I'm agreeing with Brother Andrew, is that men tend to feel there's a weakness if we allow that emotion to come out of us because we don't have that mother nurturing type of mentality. Women have that more nurture. She'll hug you. Oh, baby, it's okay. Everything's okay. And like he says, no, it's not going to be okay. I'm done. I said it. This is it. I'm out of here. I don't want to hear nothing else about this. Just leave me alone. How many times I can tell you to leave me alone? Okay, because you're getting on my nerves. You asked me that yesterday. You asked me that the other day. I'm done. And so now it exacerbates to a whole nother level because of the pressure he has on himself. He doesn't want to with his pressure, he's surely gonna deal with her pressure. So now the emotion is there's a whole thing down there. It can go to violence, it can go kind of different.
I'm starting to lose you.
How do we share with the audience? How do we come?
Like your audio is messing up. Will you put just around this 818, 817 post up, Lauren, where she talks
Which
about 817? Not sure how this conversation is really. Okay,
I got it.
so
So
Can you hear me now?
you're broken, Mike. It's like you're frozen right now, and every
Okay.
now and then your voice comes in. If you can hear us, so not sure how this conversation is really helping men to understand these topics without any women on the panel. You're absolutely correct. We need women on this panel in order for us to understand. The topic of tonight's discussion is part two of common misconceptions about male and female emotions. And what
mm-hmm,
I'd like to add to your comment that I agree with, we need women on the panel if we want to better understand. What we're talking about are men's emotions, meaning
mm-hmm.
when I actually address you about something that I don't understand, I'm already emotional because for one, I have not equipped myself to understand. I'm now already asking you, what's the answer or what's the fix? What can I do? So I already don't understand because I'm emotional. I'm like, I don't want to deal with whatever she's dealing with. I'm making this about me. That's how I began to emote my feelings. I'm
You know,
already making it about me.
I would take it a step further and say that for a lot of us, uh, the lack of understanding uh, puts us in a position where we don't know how to fix it, right? And the goal is not even to fix it, and that's the biggest piece that I think sometimes we miss is that we assume that as the man we're supposed to fix everything, and sometimes it's just the ideology. You don't have to fix it. You know, when you communicate, when you're communicating the way that you feel, sometimes it's not all about a fix. It's just the desire to be heard, right? And
You just
that's on the
described.
male that's on the male or female side. If we're being honest, is sometimes we just want to be heard. You know,
You just
sometimes you have to embellish and be like, you know what, you right. Even if you don't like, sometimes you just have to kind of embellish and say, you know what, you're right in this particular sense, and maybe they are, but you know, too often we're listening for something that something that our significant other, just the opposite species in general, is saying that we can grab onto because we assume that that's the fix.
we're listening to respond. And what you just got to finish describing was Rosie Perez talking to
We
uh,
talking about in White Man Can't Jump.
White Man Can't Jump. Exactly. When she
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm thirsty, and he went and got her some water. And, hey, when I say I'm thirsty, doesn't mean go get me some water. Don't fix. You can't fix this, dude. Just listen to me. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
I agree. So here's a hmm. Okay, so we talked about just wanting to be heard, right? It's kind of where we were starting to go. Who needs validation the most between men and women? Because
Uh,
sometimes when we're talking, we don't necessarily, we're not looking for anything but you just to validate how we feel, right? Whether it's right, wrong, whatever, just validate how I feel. Be like, yeah, I could kind of see why you feel the way you feel, right? So who do you feel needs validation more, men or women?
Come on, dude. Everybody's gonna hate me, but yeah, men need more validation than women.
Men need more validation than women. Are you? Or man, man, what? Man, why you always capping for the ladies, man?
Hey, dude.
Why you always capping for the ladies, bro?
Dude, I'm finally trying to understand me. And the reason that I say that is, she was beautiful to me. She was beautiful to me. And for some reason, I stopped emoting. I stopped emotionalizing exactly what she made me feel. And that right there is what made her respond to think, what's
Yeah.
wrong with me? So now
Okay.
she begins to dial herself up because she thinks something's wrong with her because I stopped emoting, emotionalizing, doing whatever it was that I was doing in the beginning that made her feel completely secure, completely confident, and completely beautiful.
Okay.
I have a question to ask you.
Shoot.
What does emotive mean? What does that consist of? Give me a dialogue as to what being emotional means as relates to a man.
Are you asking me? You asking AB? Who you asking?
I think he's asking
Both.
you.
You
I'm
asking both
asking
of
both of
us.
you.
What does it mean to be emotional as a man, or to emote?
Emotive. Yeah. What does it mean to be emote?
Well, I think emote is more of an action word.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't
verb.
really. It's an action word. So, uh, you know, again, if we bottle everything up, right? Eventually it has to come out. It's like a volcano, right? It's filling with lava, and something happens. There's a seismic shift that happens that causes that volcano to erupt, right? That's typically what happens with most men or women that don't have the ability to articulate their emotions in a healthy manner. It's coming out, but how it comes out, uh, you know, the more we hold in, the longer we hold it in, the more it is likely to come out in a negative way
So,
because we're adding layers to our pain, essentially. Go ahead.
so when I hear you say that, when we bottle it, when we bottle stuff up,
Mm-hmm.
when we bottle,
Mm-hmm.
bottle is now a verb. When a
Yes.
bottle is sitting on a counter, a bottle is a
Yes.
noun, it's a thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when we bottle, that's a verb. We are
Yes.
actually doing something. We are actually doing something because of our emotions.
Mm-hmm.
We are bottling them. That's what we're doing. We're emotional, so we're now bottling them. Or you actually said when we try to cover them up. To cover is a verb
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. We are still
But can,
doing something because of our emotions.
but can it not be also an adjective? It's a description of something.
So if I bottle something up, is that an adjective?
When we look at emotion, emotion can be an adjective because now it's describing something that you're in.
Understand the sentence. Understand the sentence. I am bottling something up. What's the verb and what's the adjective? Where's the adjective in that sentence?
The adjective is whatever is inside that bottle now
Okay.
is either proactive or inactive.
Okay. So I am bottling something up. So the
Mhm.
adjective is where? Because
The
the
adjective is
adjective
now describe.
adjective is a description.
Yes, a
I am
verb denotes action being or a state of being.
uh-huh. I am bottling something up.
I'm sorry. I'm staring at the comments, man.
Yeah. Let's yeah. There
So,
there
there's an interesting comment here that I do want to dive into. Came from my guy Robert G. Hawkins. Shout out
sure.
to Robert G. He's always tapped in. He says, "Men crave respect, women crave acknowledgement." Mm.
Hmm.
I am going to respectfully disagree. I'm going to respectfully disagree, and this is why I say that I'm going to respectfully disagree. Uh, a young boy that has grown up in a fatherless home, or maybe he grew up with a father in his home, but his father was out there, just bringing home the bacon. He really didn't plug into the family in any capacity, right? He was just working, bringing home the bacon, come home, every day, same thing. Uh, that young man is craving acknowledgement from his old man, and he will continue to do that until he gets uh that uh acknowledgement, and he's going to grow up to be an old man that is now craving acknowledgement from his old man. And we have to hope that he sees the error in that and doesn't pass that forward or backwards, however you want to say it. I guess you would say he doesn't pass it forward to his sons, to his offspring. So I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think that in a lot of cases, men tend to emote in a negative point of view when they don't feel like they're being respected or being heard. But I do believe that that acknowledgement piece from a man to a boy is where we crave that acknowledgement. So I'll let either one of you, AB, go ahead and tune in and provide your comments, please, sir.
Go ahead, Mike. Mike was
Well, see,
okay, Mike.
I think we're changing the narrative to fatherhood. Okay.
Talk to
And
me.
because my father was such an intellect, out of Indiana University, CPA. And I wanted to be in sports. Daddy took me to my games. I never went to a Dodger game, never went to a Laker game, right? And was there with my dad. He didn't have that type of sensitivity, so far as that's concerned, because he didn't get that from his parents, but he was an intellect. So where did I want to get my affirmation from? Was from the street. I wanted the homeboys up the street to affirm. I had no brothers and sisters, so I had a spirit of abandonment. Why? Because I couldn't play with them. I had nobody to talk to. I had Sanford son and all my children and one life to live that was in my home in ABC Wide Worlds of Sports, right? I wanted to be like those people because I had nothing to emulate, even though I had great parents, middle class neighborhood. There was no connection between my father, so I connected to the street. You know, I wanted the big booty woman because they had it. I wanted to have the girl around the corner, they had it. And so now I became proposed, I was now by the environment and community which I came from. It took a long time for that to break because I started putting stuff in my ear gate, in my eye gate, and came out of my mouth gate, and it became a part of now. In order for me to be somebody that is a part of society, I had to be like society. And I forgot about the point of education till later on in life. My daughters graduated. One graduated summa cum laude. I got 2 doctors, and I got those that now my sons are just doing a tremendous job, right? And what I'm seeing is the fact that my emotions was so deeply embedded in the bottle, just like he said, because now I never let them flow until I went through days and hours and months and years of crying and letting them out, wanted to end my life because I didn't feel sufficient. I felt insufficient. Until I let that flow out, I didn't know how to be proactive in the environment that I was in. And so I would lash out. Now, when I lashed out, it was the defensive mechanism to protect myself from the inadequacies that I felt most of my life. And so when I bring up scriptures and when I bring up different things, it's a defense mechanism because I don't want to go back. But when I was into it, I try to keep myself in it so I would now be popularized, if you would, a part of now how he preached, how he sung. Maybe they would like me if I did it that way, but I did not have my own way. So it's hard for me now to be subject to a relationship. If I don't know me, I don't know how to relate to her. That was my instance. That's why I had to go to counseling to let all that flow. And the flowing mean it came out fluid because there's a lot of things I didn't find out about me. Man, you was just God. You can't do people like that because it's not the point of you hurting yourself. You're hurting other people too.
AB, so, go ahead and tap in.
In regards to what Robert Hawkins was asking, men crave respect, women crave acknowledgement.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, I was that kid that if you actually clapped and laughed and danced or gave me any kind of acknowledgement when I did something good, I fed off of that. And that's the only reason that I kept doing it, so that I can get that acknowledgement. I didn't even know what respect was. And I grew up to be that kind of person that sought that acknowledgement. So when a woman actually says, "Oh my God, what is that you're wearing?" Cologne wise, hey, I never changed it. Never changed it because I want that acknowledgement. It had
Mm,
nothing to do with respect. And the fact that I said that is because I kept growing and growing and growing and never understood why I was not growing because
mm-hmm.
I did not respect. I did not even know the definition of respect. I was
Gotcha.
seeking acknowledgement, and it goes back to what that this it goes into what Lauren just put up as far as your other comment. I find it a waste of time to actually be emotional as a man. Yeah, what I discovered as I began to respect myself and my world around me is that I had been wasting a whole lot of time because I was so emotional.
Yeah, and I think that's is again, I think it's important to pay attention to how we utilize words, right? Because I think the a natural person that isn't really looking at the basis of what he said would be like, aren't you trying to get men, or aren't you trying to get men to be more, to open up more, right? There's a difference between expressing emotion and being emotional. And there are times when we will just naturally be emotional, uh but the point is to open up and express emotion, so maybe we're not put into that space where we're emotional. Because to me, emotional is something that is either continuous, or it's it happens enough that it draws a lot of attention when you're emotional. Now there's also other words out there like he is I don't want to use the word soft. Soft is not the word that I'm looking for. Uh uh he's sensitive. That's the
The
word I
show
was
is freezing up.
sensitive. Sensitive is a very, very strong trigger word. Why you being so sensitive? Oh, you sensitive today. And for a lot of us men, we go on a defense as soon as we hear that. We hear that word sensitive, and again, we, instead of saying, you know what, I am a little bit sensitive today. If I'm being honest, we go on the defense. Why? Because it makes us dramatic, right? Right, right, Andy, you're right. It makes us again seem soft, and we don't want to seem soft as men. We don't want to show our soft side, right? We don't want to show those feminine traits, that feminine energy that is within all of us, whether we're male or female, right? It's again not traits, energies. I'm talking about two different things, and so I think it's very, very interesting. Uh, it's funny. What did Robert P? I'm gonna put this one up. He said, "People these days consider that arrogant. People these days are considered arrogant, or they think
No, they
they
consider that
all. Oh, they consider that arrogant, or they think all the what I don't even know. It's
it's
not
like
coming from a realistic place.
people
I
people
see where
these
he's going.
days people these days they consider that as being arrogant or thinking that they were all that.
Mm,
But no, it's not that if it's coming from a realistic standpoint.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
arrogance or somebody thinking that they're all that. It's
yeah.
it's, it's pure. I didn't know, but you had mentioned something. Oh shoot! Ah,
I
dang
mentioned
it!
something
Yes.
about.
No. My question to my question to the ladies out there. How do you feel? How do you feel when your man shuts down? When he doesn't talk to you? When he's not emotional. He's just quiet. Or he thinks that he's not being emotional. He's like, and all you're trying to do is connect, but he's shut down. He's
Mhm.
Do you think that he's being strong? Do you think that he's being masculine? Or do you think that he's being a little dramatic bitch?
I knew you couldn't hold off the whole night. I knew you couldn't. I tell you what's interesting. And I actually I'm gonna speak from a place of I'm gonna speak from a place of transparency for a second. Um, so I'm talking to my wife, and I'm talking about you know, I think we need to sit one of our sons down because he's a sports kid, right? Hey man, what's 1 plus 1? I don't know, but I can throw a football, right? So we're having a conversation about, hey, let's talk about, life outside of sports because it has a shelf life, right? And she's like, well, he's a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't expect him to we can't put a plan together for him because that could change. He's growing. And I was like, yeah, no, I get you. I feel that. What I'm talking about is exploration, right? I'm talking about what are some other things that he can explore, get inside of yourself and say, you know what, I wanted to try this. I wanted to, cook more. Or I want to learn how to cook or, something, right? And so she's like, nah, I think you're wrong. Like you taking this too far. Life isn't, it's not that serious. He's a kid. And I'm really struggling. Right. And so I got emotional for a minute. And I said, man, sometimes I just don't feel like you hear me. I just don't feel like you hear me. I feel like if it's either, I'm right or I'm wrong. It's I wasn't looking for a right or a wrong answer. I guess I was just kind of thinking out loud. And this is what I'm thinking. And and then the interesting part, here's the interesting part. She said, damn it, I feel the same way. I said, shit. I said, so what you're telling me right now is that neither of us is really listening to each other. What we're doing is we're trying to prove right or wrong. Who's right, who's wrong, instead of just listening and maybe coming to a consensus or collaborating with on the direction and path that we want to go, right? And so that was a big moment for me because normally I probably would just kind of shut down and be like, man, whatever, man. And I'm in my own world and, I'm about to go do something now, just to not have to put, my attention towards her because she made me emotes in a negative light. And so, but, one of the things I'm learning is be expressive and do it early, because when you do it early, you don't start to harbor a lot of that negative stuff that can start to creep in, some of that doubt, and a lot of things that can kind of creep in from a negative point of view. I'm learning to express it early, and then we can have a better conversation, uh, because now my words are not harbored in extra pain. They're just harbored in maybe that initial pain that I felt, but now it's not, coupled with this and that and the third, uh, you know, and I think that talks a lot to you talking about, guys just shutting down. What happens when we shut down? Well, we never shut down. We just shut up. Really.
So with that comment, damn, I wish she'd leave me alone.
Is it your birthday?
Damn, I wish she would just shut up. If I knew, I would tell you. Gosh, why don't you just go somewhere? Just leave me alone. I never said any of that to you. I said all of that in here because this is what I was doing. This is what I was doing. But however, I don't think that you see this. I don't think that you see this obvious thing that I have right here, even though it looks like this. I think that I'm totally concealed and my emotions are in check. But here are my emotions right here. And not only do I think that, this is the only thing that I'm thinking about. All of this stuff that I don't have an answer for, swimming around in my head. And that's what happens one day. To me first. but it explodes all over you.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh. Yes, it does. I agree. Uh so Rayonda says something, and I'm gonna put her comment up there, but I really want to focus on the back end of it. Uh She said it depends. It may be a sign that he is processing something before he speaks on it, which is smart. Sometimes I think it's okay to pause or say, hey, I need to gather my thoughts. But I want to talk about the second part. She said, on the other hand, it is selfish as it portrays. He doesn't trust us enough with his thoughts and emotions.
Boom,
Oh
boom,
shit.
boom.
Oh shit. But it is true, and we talk about safe spaces for men, right? We talk about it all the time. One of the platforms of why this was created, because we wanted to allow men to have a safe space to express, to emote. And so I think that's big. Uh and what's interesting, and I kind of want to add to that, is I don't know that we trust ourselves with our thoughts and our emotions.
No, we don't. That's why we're thinking about them so much. We get stuck in our head thinking that we're
And
thinking.
that the paralysis of analysis.
Exactly. And this is
hmm
her. This is her.
Is it your birthday? Why are you getting all these balloons from?
Why did you hurt me? What made you say something like that? Where are you going? We need to talk about this. She doesn't hold that in.
hmm
She lets it out, or she gives it out into the universe, gets it out of her, and then she lets us hear it.
hmm
This is her balloon. This is why it does not explode. But
Because
we're
she got
teaching,
it out, is what you're saying.
yeah, but we're teaching
Okay.
her something different. In
hmm
order to be around us, she now has to hold this in, walk on
hmm
eggshells,
hmm hmm
because we've already
Wow.
told her, stop bugging me.
hmm
Yeah, the
I
balloon
got
is very dramatic. That's the yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Robert said this. I'm gonna pop this one up. He said, as I said in the earlier comment, when there is not disagreements going on, is when you should set a foundation. If we go to that point, just know we have an outlet, and then we have calmer heads that come back and discuss whatever that concern was. Yes,
Exactly.
yes, and I think that's part of that emotional intelligence, right?
Yes.
Is, you know what, if this comes out right now, it's gonna come out in a way that I don't want to be represented as, right? This is not how I want to represent my emotions. So let's set a time where we can kind of come back to this and have this conversation, because I think that's the problem, or that's a problem, not the problem, but a problem, is that we say, I don't want to talk about this right now, but we never come back to it. And
Exactly.
just like your balloon, you just keep blowing it up until it explodes, right? Because what's gonna happen is we don't come back to it, but it's still there, right?
Mhm.
We don't come back to it, but it's still there. And then all of a sudden something triggers that, and then it explodes, right?
How about someone when she says, "Are we going to ever address that balloon you're holding?" It's like,
Mm.
didn't I say we're going to talk about this later? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so how much is later? Or when is later? When you're like 40 years from now, or 10 minutes from now? Can you be more specific? Will you
Mm-hmm.
leave me alone?
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't have an answer. He is not emotionally intelligent. He's not there.
Yeah.
And what Robert Hawkins is saying, Robert, forgive me for representing that other guy, because there are many men out there who are emotionally intelligent, and exactly how you talk about it, that's exactly what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we're talking about the people that gave us cause to have a podcast like this about the emotions uh, that are out of control, that are
Yeah.
not controlled.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. And it's interesting. that whatever happened to self-control is fruit of the spirit. Uh, yeah, I don't disagree with that. That is interesting. She said that sometimes it is necessary to control your emotion and just have the conversation. Uh, I agree with that for the most part. I think and it's not really pushback, but it's really just to add value. Is I think that it's also important for us to respect that sometimes people just need a moment, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes people just need a moment. And so, yes, we want to hope that we're always in control and that we can have these conversations. But as long as we respect that, hey, this is getting me a little bit too amped up and I'm starting to lose control. I need a second to breathe. And whether that's I just give me 5 minutes and I'll be right back, or hey, we need to pick this back up tomorrow. You
And
know,
see, part of that is our problem, because we think, there goes that word again. We think we can actually either control what's going on, we think we have control of what's going on, or we think that there is some type of control about what's going on. And we don't
mm-hmm,
have control over everything. But it's
mm-hmm,
okay to talk through it, to understand that I don't control this. And if I
mm,
can get that out and understand that, now my hands are off of it. And she understands that, okay, wow, this is something that we don't control. So it's not
mm-hmm,
even about us. How are we going to attack it?
mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to control it because I think that I got to give myself some time to figure out the controls of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I knew you would agree with me, Rayonda. That's hey, we must be kindred spirits tonight, man. I knew we was gonna connect, man, to get on the same page. I love it. No, that's and that's I tell you, and we'll now it's time for us to go back a little bit further, because I think that this piece is important here. And before I do that, I'm gonna bring Mr. Sam Black onto the stage with us. He tuned in last week and has some valuable insight that he wants to offer. So, Mr. Black, man, welcome to the show, sir. You are muted, so take yourself off mute, my man.
What up,
Welcome,
Black?
brothers. Welcome, brothers. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, I apologize for my tardiness. I got the times mixed up because I'm here on the West Coast. But I'm sad that I missed majority of what you guys were saying because I was, really, really into the conversation you guys had last week, and I really felt good about it because it's good to see us sit down and try to, get some clarity on these information so that way we can be better men, better leaders, and not get so caught up in all the stuff that's going on around us, and we can refocus ourselves. So I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can contribute in some kind of way because I'm definitely learning.
Yeah, so I'll kind of catch you up on kind of the main points we've been talking about tonight so far. So the first question that I asked was who tends to handle their emotions in a healthier way? And I'm not gonna say there's an obvious answer, but I think that when we speak about men, society has always told us, be tough, be strong, and so we don't have an opportunity sometimes because of the cultural norms to express some of the things that causes pain or discomfort, because that's the society just says that that's not acceptable for us as a species, so just move on. But what we do know all too well is that eventually those emotions are going to come out, and a lot of times, if not 100% of the time, that explosion is negative and it's bad and it's nasty, and we're letting that emotion out on somebody that we care about, somebody that we have a love for, and now we're just in a really really bad place. So I
What
think
are,
we just lost him. Did we lose him?
I don't think so. What are
I,
your thoughts
I'm
Nope,
about?
I'm
there he is.
here. The camera
Okay,
went out.
What
go
are your
ahead.
thoughts about?
Struggle streaming.
If we can hear you, so please share. What are
Yeah.
your
Okay.
thoughts about uh, last week's conversation? What did you want to comment on?
Okay. Well, let me see. I guess we could start from where you just came from, a place of like who manages emotions better, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we get into that kind of conversation of who has this and who has that, like we got to be clear that we all have emotions, right? Men
Yeah.
have emotions, women have emotions. We do things differently with our emotions because of how we were created. We are the same, but we're different. You know what I'm saying? Like we do things different. Now, for me, I believe men, they do have emotions, but they prioritize logic over emotion, as in when women prioritize emotion over logic. So, for example, if there's a situation that comes up, the man's going to try to find a logical solution for it, and then maybe he'll deal with his emotions if he can get to it, if he can find a logical solution. Women approach the situation where they're filtering through their emotion first, and then they may get to the logic, may or may not. That's why a lot of times there's a lot of discord in conversation, because the woman is having an emotional conversation and the man is having a logical conversation. And you're not going to be able to have a meeting of the minds when you're doing it that way. So as that being my baseline, then we got to ask ourselves, all right, so men, do you have a space for you to display your emotion? Sure, society will tell you do not cry and things like that. There's a pros and cons to that. There's a time and place for that. To sit there and say men shouldn't have emotions and cry, that's kind of crazy. But you don't want to be a crybaby. Excuse me, because you don't want to emote like a woman, right? So I don't know. Maybe I said a mouthful right there. Maybe you guys want to comment on that, because it was a lot of stuff that said last week that that I took note of, and it's a lot of stuff. So maybe we can just parse it up a little bit at a time. And I know you guys been on an hour already, so I'm tardy to the party.
Hey, let me ask
you good. There's some comments from the audience that
can you see the
that
comments? Sam, can you see the comments? You're muted right now. You're muted,
Yeah, I
Sam.
can see him.
Okay.
So there's a couple comments, and I'm gonna pull this last one up just so you can see it. It says, just because men ain't crying and waving their hands all in the air doesn't make them more logical. And so basically what she's saying is that she does not agree with you that men come from a place of logic, and men communicate from a place of logic, and women communicate from a place of emotion. And so I want to allow you to have the floor, maybe to address that, because I think that's a interesting dichotomy that I'm not going to say we assume, but I think that obviously women don't tend to the certain women don't tend to agree with that thought process, and maybe that's based on the men and women that we deal with, right? Maybe that's what we are drawing our conclusions from. But go ahead, I'll let you kind of speak to it.
Well, I'm drawing my conclusion from biologically. That's just, if you look at the brain, men and women are not the same. And waving your hands and crying is not a logical movement. That's a emotional movement. So when you say just because men aren't crying and waving their hands in the air, don't make them more logical. No, what I'm saying by what makes more logical is when men are trying to, you ever notice like when a woman has a issue or whatever and the man says, what's wrong? He's not trying to emote with her like in the sense of a woman. He's trying to find out what's the solution so he can logically come up with a solution. That's just what it is. Men prioritize that first. In this society, women, and I'm not blaming all women, I'm just going to say it's 68.2% or more. If you watch the bell curve, that's the majority. There's outliers on each end that they want men to be more emotional, which means they want them to emote more like them. And so we have a society of men right now that emote like women first. What I mean by emotion first, prioritize emotion first and then logic. So I don't know what other way to explain that's just biological that men do that. I mean, like, if we're going to argue that point, then that's going to be a show within itself. And then I could break that down if we're going to break down just the basic concept that men are more logical than women. Not to say women can't be logical, not to say women can't be leaders, not to say women don't use their brain, not to say all women are emotional first and then logical second. What I'm saying, if I was to pick 10 women, 6 or more are going to be more emotional based than logic based. That's all I'm saying.
So
okay, hey,
let me jump in there
I'm
for a minute,
yeah,
Lauren.
jump in there.
Okay. Please don't take this as disagreeing. I'm gonna speak from my personal standpoint. You mentioned something about or what Ryanda talked about as far as waving hands and all that sort of stuff. The way that I see that is when a woman is waving her hands or crying or doing something like that, she's getting it out. When a man is not waving his hands, he's still being emotional. He is controlling his emotion. And that word controlling, that is an action that is a response, that is in response to what he's feeling. So he's still feeling and he's still emoting. He's emoting in a different way, through silence, through stoicness, through I don't want to share right now, through this is not the whatever reason he's not letting it out, he's holding it in. And when he finally lets it out, that's when I believe he starts to swing his hands and cry and yell and break something, because he never had an opportunity to just let it out of his body, let it out of his mind right then and there. So it built up. And when he finally starts swinging his hands, whoever's in the way, unfortunately, catches it. And we have to ask her the next day what happened.
I would agree that men react differently. I mean, like, just even on just a biological level, men have more testosterone than women, right? So when men react to something, they're going to be more reactive. Men are more have a propensity for violence more than women do. There's a reason for that. God created us that way for a reason. We're same, but we're different. We're supposed to be complementary parts. Like, we're not supposed to act like them, and they're not supposed to act like us, in the sense of prioritizing emotion over logic and logic over emotion. God made us that way. That's why we need each other in that sense. That's not to say you can't walk around and you're void of emotion if you don't have a woman, or you void of a man if you don't have logic. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, when you're trying to have a relationship, or if you're just looking at what gender prioritize things, that's just the way it is. It's only now in society when women sit here and say, well, where are all the men at? Because the men are acting like women. Men are walking around with purses. Men are walking around doing all these emotive things that are closer to what women do. And then we say we need real men, or we need the leader of men to stand up. Stoicism isn't something that women generally do, not to say that they can't. I'm just saying that's a default for a man, because when a man get into a situation, he cannot emote emotionally first, because if he strikes out emotionally, it's usually going to come out aggressively. And I'm talking about physically. Whereas a woman may want to yell, scream, talk, communicate. That's not to say that is bad. I'm just saying that's just the way they choose to emote. Now, a man is going to have a propensity for violence. So we're different. We're different.
Yeah,
Fair.
we agree.
Fair.
Yes, we agree with that.
Yeah.
We are different.
So here's a question that I want to ask. Go ahead before I ask. No. Go ahead.
Okay, so you mentioned something about when a man reacts to something. Can you give me an example of what a man would react to? Because you talked about his testosterone, and when he reacts to something, it's going to be, it could possibly be much more violent and volatile, because he has more testosterone in him. Could you give me an example of what he reacts to?
Yeah, absolutely. Last week, we were talking about maybe like a conversation that a man or a woman, when they're having a disagreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a woman she's more verbal because she's in her feelings. She wants to connect with you in a loving way. So she talks, right? She communicates. And sometimes the man feels like he's being disrespected. Because remember what you guys were talking about was love. Men need respect. Women need love. There's a reason for that because we look at things differently. Now, if you're in the argument or whatever you want to call it, and then the man is feeling disrespected, his fight or flight or fear is going to kick in. Now, if I'm talking to you gentlemen, right, and I feel disrespected, I'm going to shut down, but you're not going to keep protagonizing me or whatever, because there's always a low level threat of violence between us, right? So then I might just tell you, hey, bruh, chill out, bruh. You know what I'm saying? And then you'd be like, what you mean, bruh? Because that's that low level threat of violence. And then it could turn into something. Now, if I'm talking to my woman and I get into that fight, flight, or freeze, I know I can't fight my woman. I know I'm not freezing because I'm scared. So I'm going to flight. And so the woman's going to look at that as, oh, you don't want to address the subject. Then she's going to keep coming after you. Now, to a man, that seems like she's nagging, but she's trying to connect. But also the man is doing the honorable thing by not reacting. What his normal thing would be is in a aggressive manner, because I'm not talking to another man, I'm talking to a woman. And then so now that's where the disconnection comes, because she's taking what I'm doing as being dismissive, and I'm taking what she's doing as being nagging. And then what we need to do is understand the dynamic that each person is coming from in order for us to understand what language that person is talking, because we need to translate what they're saying into what we're thinking, because she's telling us how she's feeling, and I need to know what that means in logic. While I'm telling her what I'm feeling in logic, she needs to understand that in feeling, because she's not prioritizing my logic.
Okay, so help me through this, because I want to go back to the beginning, and I'm going to miss some stuff. So forgive me, but correct me, please. I'd ask the question of, give me an example of when he finally reacts to something, and you said, okay, so they had an argument the week before. Is that something similar to what you said? You're muted. You're muted. You're still muted.
We were talking about last week, men and women get into an argument and how it's viewed as disrespect and things like that. And all I'm saying is, when you're in that moment, the man is going to react differently than a woman does. Because when he feels disrespected, go ahead.
I know. I apologize. I agree with that. I was just trying to figure out, because this is where I am trying to make a point, and I quote it like that because I want to be right in the situation, and I have to say it like that because I finally learned how to understand why sometimes I think I'm talking, because I think I'm actually thinking, and it's not even about that. Yeah, my ego is kicking in. But anyway. When I finally react to something that happened last week, for me, I've actually emoted. I've been in an emotional state for a whole week before I finally let it out. So it isn't that I'm being logical as far as thinking about this. I'm just holding in my emotions until I actually think about the best way and the best time and the best everything scenario to finally let it out. So I've been emotional, even in my silence, even in my thinking, even in my processing. I'm still thinking about something that happened last week when she's already possibly moved on to, okay, what bill are we going to pay this week? And how are we going to address this new anger that is attacking our household? I'm still in last week.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I agree with that. The example I'm just like, let's just say a fresh argument happens today. Like, I'm harboring anything. Like, if we had a fresh argument today and she's coming at me and she's trying to tell me what's going on, and I consider that her being nagging, or she's saying it in a way that I feel like is disrespectful, and then I decide to sit there and say, okay, cool. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to chill and I'm going to listen to what she's saying because I'm going to try to read between the lines. That's what emotionally, as people call it now, emotionally intelligent person would do, would sit there and try to read between the lines and read the message. But sometimes, when you get into an argument, what happens when the argument is no longer the argument? Now it's because I feel disrespected. She feels unloved. And so now that's why the argument becomes more than what the whole topic actually is. I'm not saying that a man goes from one or the other, from emotion to logic. What I'm saying is one is prioritized over the other. Sure, you're going to be in a state of emotion, but the way you prioritize your emotion is say, hey, logically, I can't go upside this girl's head. Logically, I'm not going to run because I'm scared. Versus if I'm dealing with a man, I'm going to approach that differently.
Yeah. So, and then you said, like, if a man starts to push and you say, hey, back up, bro. Because right now, we're just trying to win against each other. You're not listening to me. I'm not listening to you. Right now, it's testosterone is all over the table. Let me ask you this. When the man and the woman get into this argument and he chooses logic, like, hey, right now is not a good time. Let me do the flight thing because I don't want to put my hands on you. What if that might not be the only thing he can learn? Because right now it says that when I get emotional or when I don't agree or when we don't agree or when I feel disrespected, anger or putting my hands on you is one of my thoughts versus trying to say, honey, you disrespected me, or I feel this way, or, what did you mean by that? Because it's making me actually feel aggressive and I don't want to feel that way. What if I actually knew how to clarify and speak my anger in a calm way so that it never builds up to, I have to run from her right now because right now is not good. Because
That's perfect. That's perfect. And that's ideal. And what I'm understanding is that is the, like I said, quote unquote, the emotionally intelligent thing to do, because you're as the man, you're conscious in the moment. You're logically knowing, hey, it's not that she don't love me. It's not that she don't respect me. She just in her feelings right now. If you tell yourself that and you're in the moment, then yeah, you'll probably be able to have a more fruitful conversation. But what I'm talking about is not necessarily me so much, like that comment said, what type of women is y'all dealing with? I'm not talking about the type of women I'm dealing with, because I don't go through that like that, because I emote differently. What I'm talking about is the 68.2% or more men who's having an issue with women and how they communicate with women, and they have an issue with women blaming women when it ain't always the woman. Because like you said, if a man in that moment decides to say, hey, she's not being a threat to me, get your quote unquote ego out of it, or your feelings out of it, or don't start emoting over your logic, then you could take control of the situation and be like, hey, babe, you know what? I understand what you're saying to me is that, hey, whenever I do this, you feel like I'm doing that. And then when she says, yes, that's what it is, or no, that's not what it is, then you say, okay, babe, can you help me? Like you guys said last week, can you help me understand? Because what you're trying to do is translate her emotion to some sort of logic so you can put it in your logic and report it back to her in emotion so she can see, oh, he got it. Because if she says, babe, if you make me take out the garbage all the time, it makes me feel like the man, right, wrong, or indifferent. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And if the man decides to say, well, hey, we 50-50, and so now you off rail. But now if he decides to say, oh, you know what, babe, I didn't know that bothered you as much. You know what I'm saying? Because now he didn't figure out a logical way about it, and then he can in turn do said thing, and then the woman will feel loved because she communicated to him something and he made the appropriate change without it being a whole blow up.
See, Sam is doing something. Sam is doing something right now. He's messing up the whole flow of the show. He's over here giving suggestions too early.
Sam, bring it down 1,000, man. We didn't mean to get you all riled up. Golly.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's just kind of my natural disposition. No, I'm so passionate. You can call it passionate.
No, hey, look, man, God, man, why does it have to be so late right now? Look, we gotta wrap up tonight's show. But
Yeah. Sorry
Sam,
about the lateness.
no, don't apologize. Please, pull your phone out. You are West Coast time, so 6:00. Like, I have to have you back next week if you have time, because
No, absolutely.
something that you said, there was something that was said just a second ago that was one of the definitions of emotional intelligence, one, but two, effective communication. Let me regurgitate, let me reword what I think I heard, because whether you're right or you're wrong, if you can say one right thing in what you repeat, that is going to take her emotional level down a notch, because now the logic part of her brain kicks in and says, oh wow, he's listening to me. Oh shit.
Facts.
Oh
And she
shit.
feels loved. And she
Yep.
feels loved. And then she's more prone to listen to what it is that you're trying to say. Because now, if you keep trying to trauma dump, I'm sorry, I hate using these terms. If you keep trying to dump your logic on her, she's going to feel disconnected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. So, and I want to say this. I want to say this last thing before we wrap up. Is there's an attack on especially black men and black women, right? There's an attack right now that says that we're gonna do everything to keep you guys on opposite ends of the spectrum, right? We don't want y'all to come together, and I think that we have to recognize that, and we have to be better, if not anything else before that, right? Because we saw some of the comments, right? What type of women y'all dealing with, this, that, and the third? And I think we can probably say we could say a lot of things, right? It's a fact that there are some people that are emotionally intelligent and some people that are just emotionally lost. I'm not going to call them unintelligent. I'm just going to say they're emotionally lost, right now. And so what I hope is that we get to a point towards the end of this where we really start to provide some valuable solutions. We've dropped gems nonstop all night, but where we provide valuable solutions to help us communicate, to help us emote in a more effective manner. Because if we can get to that place, then I think that we will have better relationships, whether they're plutonic or whether they're romantic, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I love it. So man, Sam, dude, don't apologize for coming late, because you added so much value in this short period of time that you were able to come on, that just put it on your calendar next Monday. I guess for you, I would say 5:45, 5:50. So we're kind of all backstage and we can appear all at the same time when we go live, because I would love to, as we go deeper into this conversation next week, I would love to have you on to add some more value to the conversation, because you've added so much value tonight. So I appreciate that. For the rest of everybody that tuned in, oh my God, thank you so much for your likes, your laughs, your hearts, your thumbs up. Thank you for your comments, right? There was a lot of great value. So for those that will watch this later, read the comments, because there was a lot of great value in those comments, as well as the things that we articulated and emoted ourselves tonight. I like that word, man. Emote. I like that. I'm gonna try to use that more often this week.
For sure.
Uh,
As you can tell, like, because I'm an emotional guy too, as you could tell, right? I'm emotional because I'm passionate and all that. But the thing is, I prioritize my logic over it, so it kind of comes out both ways,
Yeah.
So I do get it, and it's a daily challenge. No, I won't say a daily challenge, but it's a challenge for me to keep that balance, because we live in a society in which it's difficult for men to be men now. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and let's be honest, people just now saying like masculinity is coming back because of Trump coming back. That's a whole different conversation. But what I'm saying is that men are want to be able to emote more like themselves in a logical fashion. But what a lot of men do not do, and I will say this, they do not get to the emotion part, and women want to be able to connect with their men emotionally. And I'm not talking about just the emotion of crying and all that. I'm talking about the full range of emotion.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I want to read the definition of emote one more time. The meaning of emote is to give expression to emotion, especially in acting. To give expression. And how I interpret that is, we talk about women are emotional. We talk about women are more emotional. To give expression, that sounds like a reaction. And we talk about how men are so logical. If men are so logical, why are women reacting to something emotionally or with an expression of what they're reacting of what the action was?
Why you
Meaning,
trying to be? Why you trying to be all smart,
if,
man?
if I
See
acted
now
so
now you trying to be
if I
smart.
acted so great and her emotions are off the chain, which is a reaction to my action, what the hell did I do or say?
Yeah. No, I'm
There's a
with you.
first cause, and then there's an emotion or a reaction to that first cause.
You got it. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm feeling it. We will start there. I am
Exactly.
going
I
to
like that.
I am going to snip that out because we're going to start there next week. I like what you said there. As all well, not as always. We haven't done this in a while, so we're going to do it tonight. We're going to do it tonight, and we're going to start AB. We're going to start with you. Anything you want to plug before we leave here tonight? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, if any of you know of anybody who needs life insurance, got a newborn person in the family that you want to insure, a person who just whatever that you want to insure, call AL. He's a life insurance agent. If any of you all like what's going on with Elevating Men, call AL and Lauren so that you can actually say to yourself, how can I get involved? How can I become a part of this elevation? Because we need your help. You have a certain gift. You were made for a reason, and we don't know what that reason is. You do. Please emote that to us. Please bring your emotions of gladness to Elevating Men so that we can grow where you are, where your 6 degrees of separation is. Please don't sit on the sideline anymore. We need your help. We need you.
Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. Sam. Hey man, what you want to plug tonight, sir?
I do have a platform. That's not my priority because I do want to engage in the conversation and bring a value and solution first before I try to plug myself, because that's not why I'm here. But what I do want to know more about is AB's 4-season plan. Is that what it's called? 4 seasons? Is that what it's called? 4 seasons? Hold on, I wrote it down. Let me.
The 4 stages of life.
Yeah, because my dad used to always tell me the 4 quarters. You call it the 4 quarters.
Yeah, 4 quarters of life.
Yeah. And that's very, very imperative what you said. That resonate with me like so much because my dad used to always tell me there's a season for everything. There's a season for everything. So when you say from 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, and 60 and up, was that the
Yes,
so
sir.
when you say that, those things are very important for us men. And if you did not grow up with your father in the home, that 0 to 20, that is so imperative. And if you do not get that, the rest is going to be difficult. Very, very difficult. It's difficult when you get it at 0 to 20. So I just love that. I want to learn more about that. And I encourage other people listening, men, especially women too, men, especially to find out what the 4 quarters is, because it's a game, but it's not a game.
Exactly. Well said. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sam, please unmute yourself now that you've spoken so eloquently. What did you want to plug again? Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying I don't necessarily want to plug my page or nothing. I'll be here next week or however long you guys choose to have me, and then I'll say my page and all that stuff later. That's just not a priority to me. But I appreciate that you guys gave me the opportunity.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you. We've been on this journey for 3 years now. And I mean, go to the archives, YouTube, search Elevating Men. You'll see all the shows up there. We've been talking about a lot of different things. But we probably would have stopped talking a long time ago if y'all didn't tap in with us. So thank you so much for tapping in. Please continue to tap in every single Monday. If you can't, hey, tomorrow you'll see #replay. Catch the replay. Share this. Don't just hold it in. Don't be selfish. Don't be selfish and keep this to yourself. Share this information. Share this information.
Tell a friend.
Hit the like button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Go to YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. That way, hey, you never forget we live, because as soon as we go live, since you're a subscriber, it's going to tell you we're live. You see how this works? So, next Monday, part 3 with my man Sam Black is going to be one of a kind, so do not miss out. Mark it on your calendars. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And bring y'all all come. Bring your popcorn, your nachos, your soda. Bring your Coke and your Hennessy, whatever you want to bring.
You feel me?
Hey, and
I'll be on the camera next week too, because I like having these conversations like face to face as much as we can. So yes, I'll be cammed up next week for sure.
My man, I appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. We are Elevating Men. Thank you for allowing us to elevate. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thank you.